What's going on, guys? MariK here, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the various vehicles that you can use in Star Wars Battlefront. The game features everything from speeders to tanks to walkers to even starfighters. In this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at the vehicles for the Rebel Alliance. While playing as the Rebels, you have access to this Rebel Land Speeder. It's not a bad vehicle. It actually has two different positions similar to the other vehicles, and the primary fire does pretty well. It'll, of course, wipe out enemy infantry in just a single good hit. And then you've got a shit ton of missiles as well that work on infantry and work on vehicles. They don't work great against ATSTs, though, which are a little bit stronger than your standard vehicle. The movement is really awkward, too, and it feels like once you get going, you're fine. But if you're at a dead stop and then you start trying to move again, it feels really sluggish. But as you see, it can take out the ATST. It all just comes down to whether or not you're better at the game than the pilot of the ATST. In this particular case, it's a bot, so of course we're going to be better. They may have been programmed to play this game, but they weren't programmed to play it over the last 20 years. When playing on Hoth, you can actually pilot the Snowspeeders from The Empire Strikes Back, which is pretty cool. I really love this vehicle's design. In fact, I think I actually like the Snowspeeder better than all of the other Rebel ships combined, with the exception of the B-Wing. I think the B-Wing is a really cool design, and it kind of is almost like a skeletal version of Jango's fire spray, or Boba, if we're talking OT. It's basically like the Slave 1, except it's more skeletal. Like, there's less to it because it's supposed to be just a fighter instead of a gunship. So I really love flying this thing around. It only has the primary cannons, which aren't going to do anything against the AT-AT. Don't even bother with that shit. That's what the tow cable's for, even though I hate using it. You can use the Snowspeeder to shoot at the ATSTs, but it barely does anything to them. You can kill them with it, but it'll take so long to kill them with it that it's just not even worth it. I'd rather just take out infantry. So there's already one Snowspeeder doing the famous tow cable tactic made famous by Luke Skywalker. And with it, you can actually take out the AT-AT. I'm going to see if we can witness it happening, and we did. Let's see if we can get this one. Let's see if our AI can do it. I mean, you would think the AI could do it, since the AI just did it. Whoa. I'm focusing more on watching it on the radar than I am watching it on screen, because I can't see it and I will just crash. The AI doesn't really want to use that tow cable, so that's okay. I prefer to just use it to take out infantry anyways. When playing on a map with starfighters, you have access to the legendary XWing. This is a really fun vehicle. It's iconic. It's probably the most well-known Rebel vehicle. It's so classic, and I love the shit out of it. Now, unlike the TIE Fighter, the X-Wing does have missiles. And so it makes it automatically better than its Imperial counterpart, because it's so much easier to destroy them. Most of the time when I play on Bespin, I mean, granted, I don't play in fighters anyways. I prefer the ground combat. But I always notice that after a while in the match, there ends up being no Imperial ships in the sky, and there just happens to be X-Wings and Y-Wings flying around. Now, ooh, that was close. You do have a limited amount of those proton torpedoes, so you kind of have to use them sparingly. I mean, we used them exactly as we were supposed to. And, alright, so we got that one dead. We didn't actually get it dead. I'm pretty sure it left the play area, and that will, after a moment, just straight up destroy your ass, so. I was actually going to try and clip it with my wing and see if we could just kill it outright. There we go. You also have access to the YWing, which, much like the TIE bomber, is a lot slower, but a lot tankier. Trying to get us a gunner. There we go. Your main fire shoots a little bit slower and overheats a lot faster, so it's not nearly as good as the X-Wing, but you can still shred it. Actually, I think the X-Wing shredded that one. You can do decent damage to enemy fighters with this thing. It's just not as good as the X-Wing. And your secondary fire, the bombs, it just drops bombs on the ground below you. So you can use it for strafing runs and such. But other than that, it's just kind of eh. You can, of course, switch to the cannon on the top, which overheats stupid fast, doesn't really do enough damage, and while it can spin a complete 360 degrees around, it's probably not where you want to be. Not having control over your fighter like that is not really a good thing, and this AI is driving like it's drunk. Then, lastly, there are two vehicles, we'll call them, that are on very unique maps. On Hoth, you have the Tonton, that is technically usable by either faction, I believe, but it spawns at the factions. It spawns at the bases that are controlled by the Rebel faction. You can't do anything with it. It just, you can just ride it. It's there for fan service, I guess. It does get you farther. It does what a vehicle would do, but you can't do anything on it. There's no shooting, there's no pew-pew, and when you are riding on it, they will pew-pew the shit out of you. The same thing applies to these things. I think they're called Kadu. This one's just kind of moving on its own. These are exclusive to the Naboo planes. These are the creatures that the Gungans ride in the Phantom Menace, and oh god, this is starting to look like the end of the first movie. You can't, again, shoot or do anything. You just run. It just allows you to get around faster, but otherwise it's just a ridiculous way to get around the map. So that's going to be it for our tutorial and explanation on the various vehicles used by the Rebels. The speeder tank is pretty good. I like using that one a lot. Again, I wouldn't recommend the speeder bikes really for anything besides just quick traveling. The X-Wing is great, though. It's one of my favorite of the aerial vehicles because the proton torpedoes are so good. The Y-Wing, on the other hand, I just am not a fan of that. I don't know that I would bother using that one at all. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection comes out in just 2 weeks, so we hope to see you on the Battlefront.